The Nighthawk by Terence. As I walked out alone one summer's eve in Saanich, where the quiet backroads pass among the hills, my thoughtless footsteps led through empty meadows of dry waving grass, when all at once a nighthawk rose ahead, and to my path did cleave. The soul-dark bird called out and called anew, searching the ground for food as he did fly. He made no sound but that low cheeping cry, and I could only follow where he flew. I saw the nighthawk in a Saanich field, and I began to think of the world's end. The end, that is, of this world that we know, the world that men have joined their lives to tend, and all its works. What's left if that should go? If all things human yield to silence, but one human voice still strives to sing and chant the well-remembered words, it mounts a challenge like the song of birds to all of life, and meaning still survives. This favoured place first heard an Indian tongue that called it Saanich. Men of newer kind then built their fertile farms, as I have heard, in the image of that England left behind, even to the skylark, for they brought that bird, and long years has it sung up in the sky above the Saanich fields, but now is scarcely heard in all these parts. So much has changed, and rural Saanich starts to die as to the city's growth it yields. I spent my boyhood in far distant parts, and heard the skylark in its own domain. Of all those days I most remember one. Walking the fields around the hill of Slain, I saw the skylarks rise up to the sun as they sang out their hearts. I have walked miles in Saanich, longed to hear the bird I'd loved in youth, but few I found. The skylark could not hold its newest ground, unlike the nighthawk, which was native here. The Indians say the gods sent a high tide to punish sinful man here long ago. A charmed canoe appeared, the just to save, which, when the flood subsided, they must stow upon Mount Newton in a certain cave, which then the gods would hide. Though many sought it, only very few of pious heart and pure intention vowed to vision quests have ever been allowed to find the cave and see the great canoe. The fields and hills of Saanich that I walk are full of secret Indian presence still, though strangers for 100 years and more have tried to bend the place to their own will, to pastoral English farmland as of yore. But lately all the talk is shopping malls, the shrines of godless men, the crass vulgarity of four-wheel drives and housing tracts. Will such benighted lives not drown in surging waters once again? If these Canadians, who in fact just came, and think no sun will set upon their day, who now despise the dwindling Saanich band, who see no value in a rocky bay except to buy, sell and exploit the land, who give an ancient name, not knowing its meaning, to the land they stole, if these should ever want their hearts to beat with Saanich and the land beneath their feet, they must get native wisdom and get soul. Seeing the changes here, I know it true that systems and empires become the past, and this most recent kind will not live on, which our presumptuous age thinks made to last. Libraries burn to ashes and are gone. They yield up all they knew in dying, like the kernel from the husk, back to the man of stories by the fire, and he will sing as memories him inspire, like the nighthawk that makes its cry at dusk. But will a single human voice survive? Nothing presumed by men is ever sure, for to survive is endlessly to learn, and man's capacity to learn is poor. The nighthawk, in its urge to wheel and turn, to flutter and to dive, is borne upon the same untiring wings as human speech, but is no human voice. Could nature flower without man to rejoice, adding his talk to sounds of living things? In Souk, where scented pines o'erlooked the beach, and red arbutus leaned down to the sea, I saw the petroglyphs. They are the trace of men who thought and gave their thoughts a key, the last surviving record of a race. And could our human speech still hang upon the air, and man long gone? It could be so, but this I know is true. All things wind down, systems and empires too. And bard, make haste, your tale will end anon. For on that day the storyteller must give everything he had back to the birds. He must let fall the memories he has earned, songs, stories, chants, and all his store of words. The world will go on turning as it turned before man trod the dust. To be, it needs not by men to be seen. Let us step lightly as we walk upon the landscape then, so that when we are gone, it will be as if we had never been. It is the height of summer, and the fields are hot and dry, but soon we'll see the fall of autumn rains, and we must go along. We cannot gainsay that unpitying call, but let our restless minds be full of song, the arm that memory wields. Like birds that grieving rise upon the wing, wanting to stay but driven to depart, we find our grief a spur to vocal art, and even as we leave the shore we sing. The human spirit is surpassing old, older than that we might reckon its birth. Against that, all our vaunted works, our pride, our thoughts are just a passing moment's worth. The ancient patterns of the world abide, and when the story's told of Indians who lived here in the past, I think of him as out of granite hewn, the age-old Adam that has watched the moon rise up above the pines for aeons past. How like the nighthawk's flight is human speech, beating the ground with endless fluttering motion, seeking what instinct prompts, for it knows best, along its path. So does our every notion, covering the same ground in ceaseless quest. As may seem best to each, let every man take up the song he hears, like the nighthawk whose flight is never ending as evening falls, or like the lark ascending on every morn these past 10,000 years.